I'm sorry, but did Stacey Abrams just say that abortion could help out with inflation?
And amen. And boom, shakalaka. Can you give the Lord some praise in here today?
Stacey Abrams, the gap-toothed supermodel, really stepped in it on the Morning Joe show the other day when she suggested that abortion could help with inflation. Now, we know that the Democrats have been stone cold crazy over abortion. They thought that this was going to be the issue to get their people out for the midterm elections, but they are finding out that they're woefully wrong. But they're stuck on stupid as well. They've given up on the whole voter rights argument because that was tired and played out and untrue. I mean, everybody has to have a license to prove their identity with anything from buying booze at a liquor store for getting on an airplane. So why shouldn't they have that to vote? So the Democrats moved on to abortion. They were thinking that because the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade, that this was going to be the one. I knew from the very beginning that was not going to work. I had some of my Republican colleagues say, you know what, we should have just avoided abortion. No, actually, we shouldn't. It's okay. It's always going to be okay to tell the truth. If the culture is so far gone that they can't accept that this is human life, well then, and they're, what you going to do? We're almost there, but what you going to do? But because of inflation, because of the open border, because of crime, and there's no way in the world that people are going to say that abortion was the most important thing. But again, the Democrats are stuck on stupid. And that is why Stacey Abrams said this.
To this idea of a culture war, but for women in Georgia, this is very much a question of whether they're going to end up in poverty in the next 5 years, because women who are forced to carry unwanted pregnancies end up in poverty within 5. They're 4 times more likely to be impoverished in 5 years. They're twice as likely to be on food stamps. This is an economic issue, and it's being reduced to this culture conversation. We know that for families that have faced the issue of inflation, they care about housing prices. They care about whether they can afford to go to a doctor. That's why I'm fighting for Medicaid expansion in Georgia, and why we're having conversations about a governor who makes his money in real estate and will not spend $400 million in eviction rental assistance to keep people in their homes. And so it's important that we reduce these conversations, not to these high-level professorial conversations, but to real impact on people's lives.
Okay, let's do that. Let's have a conversation about what impacts real people's lives. The Democrat Party is debased. I think the Democrat Party is now like possessed by demons, like Moloch, people who sacrifice their children. People sacrifice their children on the altar of convenience. In this case, you have Stacey Abrams out there talking about women need to sacrifice their children because of hard economic times. Where did all of this come from? This form of thinking that a human life is just a commodity. Well, I'll tell you where. The Democrat Party. The Democrat Party has always viewed life like this way from its very beginning, from the way they treated the Native Americans, the Trail of Tears, to the way they treated the Americans of African descent with slavery, separate but equal. The Democrats, this is their modus operandi. But it is so crazy to hear this come from an American of African descent when it is Americans of African descent that are disproportionately slaughtered through abortion. It's not a coincidence that Planned Parenthood, camps out in black and brown neighborhoods. It's not a coincidence because they were targeted from the very beginning. How can an intelligent woman, an articulate woman, a clean woman like Stacey Abrams push this? How can she use this as a talking point, as a progressive agenda item? Oh, we have to have women be able to get abortion because there's a tough times here. We have to have government come in with rent assistance so people will get, not be convicted. Meanwhile, in the same state, you've got Reverend Warnock over there who was running for Senate. His church is evicting people. The Democrats are all over the place, but this was such a base moment that I think is going to come back and haunt the Democrat Party. It's bad when even the White House press spokeswoman, Karine Jean-Pierre, dodges on a direct question about Stacey Abrams' comments.
In Georgia, the president's endorsed candidate for governor, Stacy Abrams, is suggesting that one way to mitigate the effects of inflation is to get an abortion. Does President Biden agree?
I did not see her comments on this, so I don't know the context of this. Again, I want to be careful because this is a political debate, and it's related to a midterm, an election. I'm not going to comment on that. I'll go to the back. Go ahead.
In other words, next, to the back of the room, please. We're not going to answer that question. We're not going to answer that question. They can't answer that question because that question is dynamite. They can't answer that question, even though you have Joe Biden running around the country talking about, if you vote for me, I'm going to codify abortion, like the nation wants abortion codified. Abortion is one of those sticky topics we've been told to stay away from for years. But finally, conservatives are not doing that, especially seeing we have President Trump. Thank you very much. That gave us enough Supreme Court justices to send the question of abortion back to the states where it belongs, because the Constitution doesn't speak to abortion. Now you have the Democrats trying to use it as a wedge for the midterms. It's not working. And Stacey Abrams is reminding the American people just how cruel, how heartless Democrats are, how they're the ones that treat human beings as chattel. They're the ones that treat human beings as a commodity. And for her to say that women, mothers, would kill their babies for economic advance, and that killing their babies, we could end up solving inflation, that's demonic. That's crazy. My name is James T. Harris. This is my channel. Make sure you hit the notification bell. Make sure that you follow this page. Every time you put up a new video, you will be notified. And make sure you check out my merch store at jamestharris.com.